Hola, soy Jinka Jabo. Es televisión program spectacular. Beto es uno chihuahua pequeño. Me gusta. Bienvenido a Jinka Jabo. Alright guys, so I'm sorry I dodged that intro by speaking Spanish. My Spanish is quite limited, so I'm very apologetic for that. I'll try to get some subtitles next time. But of course I'm making a joke about the first of the Dem debates, and they were spread out over 2 nights because there were just a lot of people, I don't know, I guess they did it by number of donations or something, but they made it a very crowded field, and that's the first thing I wanted to say about the DNC debates is that it was so inconsistent. It was too many cooks, like we didn't get to hear enough from each person. But then, you know, you have the people that were complaining that, well, I didn't get enough time. Who's making these damn rules anyway? You know, aren't they the government? Isn't this how it's supposed to, I mean, isn't it this self-imposed? But anyway, there were a few moments and a few winners and a few losers, and I think they're going to mix it up. They're going to shift the table so that everyone gets to encounter everyone else, which I think is completely pointless because there were some that just clearly did not appear electable, and of course that's what everyone's talking about. Now I'm going to have to go and make a separate video about much bigger news about Donald Trump crossing into North Korea, but for now I just wanted to go through, I wrote down the list of the names of the candidates and just my thoughts on them so far, and based on what I've heard in various analysis, different channels, what people are saying about these guys. De Blasio, Tim Ryan, Castro, Booker, I mean, they all had moments, I guess, but I guess the focus of the night was certainly on Warren. She handled it well. Shrieking a little bit, but she did handle it well, and she did take a lot of the attention. Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard, turns out I would say that she won the first debate because she was the most searched for candidate, and even though she didn't get much time, she did really well. She just hammered it home, and she made that great distinction between Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Which is such a, I mean, I get if an ordinary person doesn't know the difference between Taliban and Al-Qaeda, but having, who was it that she pointed this out to, Blasio or Ryan or somebody, not being able to tell the difference between Al-Qaeda and Taliban is an important problem for a president. So, Commander-in-Chief, come on, I think she did really well, and I was more or less impressed with her in the town hall, which I talked about her earlier, and I thought, well, she's okay, and she debated really well, and I could see her actually doing well against Trump, and that's one thing that we had to keep thinking about because that's all they're running on, some of these people. And that was the distinction between the first night of debates and the second night. It seemed that on the second night, they weren't just talking about we must defeat Trump, except for Biden on the second night, who said, the number one task in this election is defeating Trump. Like, that's the number one priority. It's like, well, that's not really the question. The question is, what would be the first thing that you would do? What would you make your first priority? So I certainly saw the humor in that. But apart from that, the first night, Delaney, he's Bill from King of the Hill. He's like a cartoon character, just the mannerisms he has. Done, not presidential at all, just dopey, I don't know. Just, he reminds me of the kids in my elementary school class. He's like the dopey one who sits in the back. And I really don't remember anything that he said. That's the problem. These first debates, like, I was really excited about them, and they just weren't that interesting, sadly. The second night was more interesting. But I guess the first night, and one more thing about the first night, the real bomb, the real thing that stood out, which I used as my opening was when Beto started speaking Spanish. And then others did it too. I don't know. It was him dodging a question and just leaping into it. And I heard even that the Spanish was grammatically incorrect. It sounded pretty advanced to me. I mean, I don't speak much Spanish apart from very simple phrases, as you can see. Like most Americans, we understand very basic Spanish, but he was leaping into something that the ordinary American like me with just like one semester of high school of Spanish isn't going to be able to follow that very closely. I don't even know why he's on the stage. These one percenters, like I just hope they start dropping out soon. I hope that we get to a debate where it's just a few people and they all have more time to speak. But that's kind of nice about this format, where it was so condensed that we were able just to rule out a few of these people. Like you could hear them speak and think, that's not presidential, that's not going to work. The format was very rough. I can't imagine being on stage debating like that. Like takes nerves of steel. Or maybe love. In the second debate it was Marianne Williamson, and everyone discovered who she is, but I actually knew about her for a long time. And I think I've read her book, part of it. It was pretty boring. She wrote a book about A Course in Miracles, which if you've been following this channel for any time, I did do that. I had it going at the time that I started this channel, and I was able to get through all 365 days. And I read the text like 4 times, and I was going to do it again this year, and I finally decided no, it was just way too, I don't know, it's Gnosticism. It's kind of New Age psychobabble when you really look at it. It's parading as a Bible, but it really is psychotherapy, psychobabble. It talks about Freud a lot, and I could go on and on about that. But more than just that, Williamson just had the aura of someone who just personified those ideas and saw everything in terms of love versus hate, good versus bad. We must rise up against the hateful rhetoric of Trump or whatever. I mean, very vague stuff. Not much substance in her speech, and I've loved the memes going on with her, like the acid memes, like having her face on a blotter and having the blotter represent all 50 tabs, 50 states. Said enough about Williamson. Andrew Yang, I liked his ideas going into the debate, but then he wasn't able to really defend them. He kept talking about the $1,000 a month UBI, which sounds really good to me. I mean, it does, but where does the money come from? It's not like a fixed amount. I mean, it'd be several trillions. It's not like student loan forgiveness or things like that, which are feasible. Biden and Sanders, I don't think either one's going to make it, except Biden does have the advantage of having the most name recognition, and they gave him a lot of time, even though he really couldn't answer questions very well. Like I said earlier, the whole point he was saying that, my number one priority would be getting Trump out of office. Well, no, that's not the question. The question was, once you get through, what would you do? And everyone was taking rips at him, including Harris was taking shots at him. Like, that was kind of good to see. Thinking about Biden and the Obama years, like, he didn't do much, and maybe that's a good thing, but I just can't picture him being president. He's had failed campaigns before, and this is even before we get into any of the Me Too stuff, any of those accusations, any of those very real things that we have on camera. Mayor Pete Buttigieg, again, he did well, but I didn't see him really breaking through. Gillibrand, Bennett, Swalwell. I mean, we're not going to remember these names, honestly. But I do want to talk about Williamson a little bit more, and I do need to talk about history being made in North Korea. So I'll leave it at that for now, and I'm looking forward to the next debates. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Over and out.